Alright, back in the Corpus sector again, because we need to reach the other planet, as mentioned.
Ratchet, there's something I haven't told you about the clock. If we succeed, if we turn back time and stop Tachyon, the present as you know it will no longer exist.
You picked a
You
great
don't
time to tell me
say.
that.
I mean, you will never have met him in the first place. The clock may offer some kind of temporal...
That's right, audiences. Ratchet and Clank will have never met. Say
I mean,
goodbye to this
to
duo.
be fair, again, they thought this was the last game, so having that kind of stake, probably, is more believable with without the hindsight.
I like it having that stake. It just feels jarring to put it in what feels like the middle of the plot, essentially, as opposed to closer to the end.
Besides, Asimov himself doesn't believe it's a guarantee, just a possibility, because, time travel hasn't been, tried that much, especially from him. So...
I'll admit, for as much as people will talk about how some travel plots don't make sense or whatnot, I guess one thing we do have to take into consideration is a lot of it is just based off of our own interpretations of how time travel would work.
Again, Doctor Who described it perfectly in the Tenant era. We just perceive it as a straight line, cause and effect, past, present, and future, when, as the Doctor himself says, it's more of like a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey ball of stuff.
Like, who knows, maybe if time travel actually does become a real thing, maybe it will be a case that you can do whatever without directly affecting the present. Or who knows, maybe Dragon Ball was right and we will actually create multiverses out of it.
Alternate dimensions, yeah, classic, stuff that also, comic books actually, imagined. Especially because the general consensus when it comes to, theories from the scientific community is that if time travel indeed was a thing, either we would have actually not discovered for ourselves, but any change would have been discovered to some degree right now, or something drastic should have happened already. So
one of my personal theory is if we created time travel, then if people are traveling back here, they must strictly, and I do mean strictly, keep to the rules of not revealing themselves as being from the future and not affecting enough that we would notice. Although, given how crazy some things have been, maybe some joker with a time travel machine did go back and mess things up.
I'm about to pull a very relatively hard-ass reference. I don't expect neither you nor Lives to remember, because you two were very young when it happened, but does the name of John Titor sound any familiar to you?
Kinda, but I completely forgotten the context.
Very early image boards between the end of the 90s, very early 2000s, where there was this mystery about someone claiming to be from the future using that kind of nickname. Obviously, at the end of the day, it was revealed to be a hoax, but it was one of the early examples of the cultural mass phenomenon. These days, it's just forgotten.
I think I do remember talking about that phenomenon, and yeah, the 90s were a big time for that, because of course, king among them was the Y2K fear, essentially. I feel like nowadays, with how the internet is, cultural phenomenons can still happen, but they are met with a lot more skepticism than they were back in the 90s.
Mostly because, well, the internet is not anymore, your secret club that you can, sneak away from your parents, but it's literally a portal everyone can access to.
Yeah, for better or for worse, information really does come out there so people can stay on top of things better here or there. So, of course, we have the snow level.
Yeah, basically, well, to be fair, again, this is the snow level, but as we'll see later, they do use the time travel excuse to actually be a bit creative in what they do. And of course, because this is an outpost of Nefarious, a lot of these forces are there instead of just the fauna.
Boom.
Literal headshot. Also, we talked a bit over it, but you have heard at the beginning that yes, I did indeed manage to actually catch Rusty Pete and Captain Slag's radio show where they talk about Tallwin. So at the end of the day, it is there.
Mm-hmm. I will say, Ratchet and Clank do spend more time apart than I recalled from this game.
Yes, well, again, taking inspiration from Valve, because I can definitely see the same kind of, tactic that Valve used for stuff like Half-Life or Portal. This game loves to do the blue balling and telling you, yes, Ratchet and Clank will be probably reuniting in this game, but we don't tell you exactly when, so we let you spend a bit. And to be fair, again, we passed the halfway point, so... Anyway, new weapon in stock, the Cryoman Glove.
41,000 bolts! Jesus Christ and crackers.
This is a relatively more simple tool, but still relatively useful. They're essentially homing mines that do the Sub-Zero thing.
I love how they casually admit that they pawned off some technology from the Lombaxes to make this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not getting it now, sorry. But yeah, again, they just make sure so that, it's more satisfying when it actually happens. At the very least, they throw your bone with that conversation, just so you know that, the characters still understand where they are in relation to each other, instead of being completely separated. So again, it's appreciated.
Just so long as it doesn't get to surfing Dracula territory.
No, and again, you will see. I believe they did it just right for this. We already talked about this a couple of times, Lives. It's basically a term coined by users on social media that serves to describe, just in simple terms, the effect that a lot of reboots on streaming services tend to have, where in adapting something, they actually make it a gigantic origin story that has almost little to do with the source material until almost the very end of the last episode, setting you up for the next season that probably will never happen.
Think about it like this, Jibs. Imagine a Sonic the Hedgehog movie where Sonic actually starts off as Brown Maurice P. Ogilvy, or whatever his name was beforehand, and he only becomes Blue Sonic at, the last 10 minutes of the film.
And he doesn't speed up until then. That's the
kind So it's like in the most recent Mortal Kombat movie where Jack doesn't properly get his mechanical arms until near the end.
Okay.
Do Jax's credit. He didn't always have the mechanical arms.
Yeah, you're correct. It was just with the wrong character, because again, if you remember, Mortal Kombat 2 established and the classic saga established that Jack uses the mechanical arms as an extra bit, kind of like a pair of gloves that he slides in. It was the reboot saga, but in order to be more quote-unquote edgy, converted that into, let's just having his arms sliced off and replaced with cybernetic implants.
Yeah. And mind you, it's gotten to a point now where there's a Mandela effect, and now some people think, oh no, he was always an amputee in that. Ironically, they think that Annihilation got that wrong, when actually no, Annihilation had it right that he could dismount the gauntlets if he wanted to.
It was also a thing in, of all things, the Defenders of the Realm cartoon. Can't believe I had to say that.
Wait. The whole him being an amputee thing originated from Defenders?
No, that there was an episode that was having him in conflict about using the extra arms for his advantage, because that was kind of a thing a bit in the classic series, him believing that he was relying on them too much instead of being a man.
How darkly ironic that he eventually had no choice but to rely on
those. Yeah, they kind of forced that upon him. So.
Damn.
Alright, let's get the cryo mine, why not? But basically that's it, Waves. Again, you probably have seen this in other, series that got recently, adapted. Again, we've seen also an example a bit with the stupid Tekken live-action prequel, the Kazuya's Revenge.
God.
Where nothing happens until the very end.
And even still, one could argue we got massively blue-balled and all that jazz.
It was all worth it just to see Heihachi steal, Kazuya's girlfriend and kiss her in front of him. Some people are really into weird shit. Get back here. There you go. Little scamp. Also, I need to have a refresher because I forgot. Was there any of the comics, of the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, that had instead an origin story where Sonic, instead of actually starting as a hedgehog, was like a human child that was experimented on or something?
Not quite experimented on, but you might be thinking of the Sonic manga where actually Sonic starts off as this kid called Nick who can turn into Sonic.
Weird.
I think there was recently an homage even done for that manga.
That face.
Sonic.
It's clever,
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
up. It's kind of like how I remember. Okay, we need to ask these two Deji knows probably better, but I think there was maybe the early Archie comics where Robotnik, instead was just another human, a regular ass human called Kintobor.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing in the Archie comics too, where his original name is Kinterbur. He even has a whole family.
I'm not sure what Fleetway did.
Probably made him super fucked up as he was cast over when to do with Sonic stuff.
Yeah.
Seriously, I distinctly also remember stuff like the Transformers UK comic being more fucked up than the American one. Like, what was happening there?
I was reading the Transformers Armada UK comic, and then it just stopped.
Huh.
Yeah, the UK comic also did that weird thing where they were merging in the American continuity with their own original stuff, and
it also
things
happened.
got
And I think it also happened not Generation 2, but the other sequel series that IDW did, where they brought back the dark essence of the Matrix that was from the British comic.
They well, considering it's a British comic, they tried to get some of that Judge Dredd clout or something.
Not sure. Okay, Mr. Fungoid, don't worry. So yeah, as the Fungoids have mentioned, the base, the Nefarious base was built forcefully 2 years ago. So if the portal that Sigmund opened can actually work out, we should be able to go back and potentially change history. Again, that's the other thing that I was pondering at the end of the previous part, mentioned, that it's not just about opening the portal and actually go there, but properly changing the course of events, even though, as demonstrated with the Fungoids, the Zoni deemed that to be a huge taboo that should not be done. Like I said,
the Zoni were the same guys who got fooled by Nefarious, so maybe they don't know everything.
Yeah,
let's
again,
give it a try.
Like you yourself said, Jova, it's more also done for the sake of having stimulating gameplay and some level of conflict in the gameplay. But I kind of wish they did not have the whole prohibition about having time travel on a complete scale, but instead just said it's just related to the Great Clock, and otherwise the Zonies have lost most of their time travel technology. That probably would have been a better justification,
Oh, I can agree with that. Personally, what I would have done is maybe have it be that the time travel aspect accidentally gets discovered, since, well, the Great Clock is, an otherworldly thing that, as they described, is holding the universe together, essentially, so obviously, from it could sprout time travel, but maybe have it be that our heroes accidentally stumble across that mechanic and then have to use it to save the day, essentially. Kind of similar to how the Prince kind of stumbled onto what the Sands of Time could do in the Sands of Time reboot. Specifically the first time, not the 2008 reboot.
Yeah, because, the original Prince of Persia games were completely different anyway.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like, we're to a point now where the Sand Saga is what most people think of when they think Prince of Persia, and they think that that's the original.
Doesn't help that
Even though
Ubisoft
it
is not
technically
gonna.
wasn't.
Doesn't help that Ubisoft has not done a good job actually preserving the old titles. But, you know, that's Ubisoft for you.
Shame, because those are classics in their own right.
Well, Prince of Persia 3D kinda sucks, I have to admit.
It's been a while since I've dealt with that one.
But both the original and Shadow and
yeah.
the Flame actually are not that bad, yes.
Right in the core.
Which is
Target this middle bit here, you dipshit.
Attack its weak point for massive damage. Sadly, no giant enemy crabs.
Alas.
I mean, to be fair, Insomniac is no stranger of tending to have referencing to internet memes that are super dated, believe it or not. There's what's the term? There's a Rick Roll joke in Insomniac Spider-Man 2. Like, even though the practice has basically gone out of style at this point.
Clank was talking about.
Alright, let's go inside the portal and see what we can find. Yeah, as you're about to see, there you go. The place looked a bit better, less snowy. So... And we're about to find out, you know, why Nefarious built the outpost here. If I recall correctly, I'm about to show it.
Okay, we're to a point where the lens flare actually makes things look blurry when they're not really.
That's also potentially my recording getting a bit fucked up.
This is why I really do wonder how the HDR would handle recording this, since that one tends to enhance stuff. So would it actually try to correct things, or would it assume, oh, this is supposed to be bright, and then brighten it up even more? Because I do recall it apparently could backfire with making things darker.
We were about to build the bridge, but the winch crank rusted up.
Oh,
Yeah, we're absolutely here to help Dr. Nefarious.
Can you imagine what those two have to chat about? Dr. Nefarious is brilliant.
Just roll
Nothing we
with it.
can do. Not for a while. We'll just have to wait for them to
Oh,
finish
so we need to
building the
procure
oil
some
tank so we can
oil
fix
so that the rust, you know, on the wrench actually can be used. This introduces the idea of, well, time manipulation. You get something from a time area and you use it in the other to actually manipulate things to your advantage.
Kind of weird that we don't think to just, you know, affect the environment, but to be fair, I guess this might be less risky.
Praise Nefarious! What can I do for you this fine day? I was planting some vines when suddenly I felt the urge to stop and help our visitor build his new home. Have you met Dr. Nefarious yet? He's great and wonderful.
You know, I will say why these people would like to trust the Dr. Nefarious, but I would like to remind you this is the same species that, when given the option to time travel, they squandered it big time.
Find a nice patch of
Yep.
soil. Then you just plant it, nice and deep. In a few years, you'll have a nice, healthy vine. There are 2 more planters around here.
So again, here's the other mechanic. We need to plant the seeds here, so they will probably grow when we get back to the present. And as a result, go in the present, get some oil, and return here.
Rusted up in last night's thunderstorm, so we can't lower the bridge. They're on the other side of the bridge. I would have planted the seeds myself, but there's a burrow of xiphoids back there.
How dastardly.
Not like you guys have any means of fending them off on your own land.
Well, it seems that the fungoids, despite possessing some technology, are a relatively peaceful type of species.
Suppose so.
And that I can believe. But, okay, I don't think I've shown it, maybe I'll do it later, but if you pay attention, right outside the portal, there is basically a memorial of the asteroid where Nefarious and Lawrence were stuck at the end of the third game. and we will get a proper confirmation later, but yeah, so this is where they actually ended up with, I guess at the end of the day they did found a planet.
It was bound to come true eventually.
There you go, finally managed to level up the Tesla glove. You know, looking a bit at the bigger species of mushrooms, I get the idea that Toys for Bob might have still looked at, games like these late in the franchise for inspiration when doing the redesigns for the Reignited trilogy, because it has some similarities in terms of gonk face to what they did to the Norks, for example, in the first game. So I do wonder if it was a case where they wanted to have that kind of similarity. There we go.
They haven't started growing yet. Without Dr. Nefarious.
What?
It's like a day without
Yeah, already. I've already made the point about
Rolling around at the speed of jet boots. Uh-oh, looks like reinforcements have arrived in the meantime. You also have to watch out because at this point of the game, despite having a better armor, the turret, like enemies, from Nefarious, can still deplete a good chunk of your health. So... And yeah, there you go, the seeds that we planted now have conveniently formed into rails.
Your Sonic Heroes training has paid off, I see, Ratchet.
Clearly.
all that rail grinding, yeah.
I mean, there's literally frog jungle where you do have to grow vines that you grind on in that game.
There you go, now we're near actually the oil extraction area, so we just need to procure some from the top of it, I think.
Also, I meant to say Frog Forest and Lost Jungle.
Yeah, I think I can imagine that's what you meant. I also remember because it's from that sketch that Jet did about the chaotic steam.
Yes.
There you go, there's some oil. Apparently extracted with this conveniently so we can get it with the Omni Soaker. And as a demonstration, is another crank that was actually rusty. Just spray casually some oil and presto, it just miraculously works again. Look, I know that the lubricant actually works with a couple of rusted objects, but it's not as automatic.
Well, that's some motivation to get them to fight.
Stranger. Well, now that our friends are free, we can shut down the outpost and restore the village. See you later, stranger. I'll come back anytime.
Nothing to it, I guess.
It's funny you mention any time.
We'll make a joke and say it's all in the past, but Nefarious already did that at the beginning. Alright, let's go properly back in order to actually use the Omnisaucer.
My last piece of gum, and Dr. Nefarious asked
So,
for it.
if I recall correctly, so basically Clank can control where these time portals show up that allow Ratchet to go through them.
It seems that it's only a very selective kind of thing, you know, as Sigmund himself said, it's, you know, a very limited kind of thing they can do, and as you noticed, it's just 2 years ago, so not too long. But
Nothing too drastic yet.
Let's see if it pays off. Alright, there are still more robotic ghouls. And yeah, the crowd mine, you know, works exactly like you know, Sub-Zero's fatality about you know, literally freezing the enemies and then shattering that. You've seen previously, I also managed to get a skill coin with that.
Pretty sure he said annihilate at some point.
Yeah, so that's basically what the robo-ghouls actually do, you know. I think I mentioned in one of the previous parts, but a lot of their banter consists of, you know, saying sometimes weird stuff like, oh, I come in peace, while sometimes it's, you know, to quote the Daleks, basically. Because again, of course, Doctor Who revival, so it was actually the thing that people got to know more recently. But, well, to be fair, it was still a bit in the public consciousness of a lot of people, you know, over the years before the revival.
You know, I mean, I was introduced to the Daleks thanks to Looney Tunes back in action.
Well, even without knowing it, obviously, as you mentioned.
Such a weird cameo, and that's only because, you know,
the director was a fan, or someone was a fan in the team.
And
it did not fade out because of copyright, yeah.
Well, remember, there's those 2 Dalek movies that the BBC don't own, so...
Movies centered on the Daleks specifically?
Well, the Doctor is sort of in them. It's a long story.
It's kind of like
the Daleks.
It's kind of like with the Ministry of Chance, sorta.
You know, it'd be funny if the Daleks legit made a movie just to try and get promotion, saying that they're really the good guys, despite the fact that their catchphrases are destroy and annihilate.
You sweat! You told me this would work! I don't know what's happening. We should have found it by now. He must have erased his own memory.
Time is a gift, and not to be...
So yeah, unfortunately, as predicted, Nefarious did not treat it kindly on Orvus.
You are making a mistake. The clock is not a time machine.
It's funny, because we're using it exactly as one right now.
There is only one who will enter my chamber, and he is safe, far from you.
Where is he? Where did he go? I don't know, sir. I'm pulling up a residual...
And that's where Nefarious got the idea, because unfortunately Orvus' last memory was of Clank. Oh shit, grenade!
That's it, you idiot.
Annihilate him, you fool!
Bye.
And then I said it. Not so smart now, are you? You get it? Because he's a moron!
Oh, Dr. Nefarious, you have such a wonderful sense of humor, and you're so...
Unfortunately, as one can imagine with this time travel story, these has immediate repercussions.
Oh boy.
And apparently this did not cause him to glitch into Lannis and, Janice and Lance.
I remember. That's when he's yelling about Quark.
And there's also the fact that, future appearance of Nefarious will actually tone down considerably the joke for reasons that escape me. I don't know, I think it's still gold
I don't get
enough.
it either, yeah. Like, okay, my best guess would be they're keeping it to Quark. If I recall correctly, that's how it stayed, unless there's another bit where he does yell at Quark and they don't do it.
Anyway, let's move forward. Unfortunately, as one can also predict, Azimuth got captured by Vorselon while in pursuit of him off-screen, for your delight, Wims.
Oops.
Which also means that the next part we have to go back to Vorselon's ship for another rescue. The plot is literally put on pause.
See, now, if we had control of the time machine, we could have used it to go back in time before Azimuth gets kidnapped and prevent that.
And you break your camera.
You didn't have to break the camera, you know.
Droba, how can he demonstrate that he's evil?
Always so extra.
But yeah,
so, yes.
That's what we're going next, technically. Once again, back to Warson's ship to rescue this time properly Azimuth. So see you for that.
Yeah.